We can.
Good morning.
Sure.
Wonderful. I'll give everyone a minute to get settled in, and then we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and the roll call.
Nice to hear your voice. What was he doing? Trying to hear it. I want to history of it. Really very interesting things. The picture. Okay, make sure that they still keep his hair relatively long. Yeah. Good. Yeah, he's keep macro. I think we should just 81. This is actually it's an progress in the progress. I don't know.
Good to see you.
See that? Yeah, good.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Morning, Denise. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Okay. Frank, how are you?
Good morning, sir. I did not. Thanks for following me out home and quietly.
Okay, let's get this meeting started. Good morning and welcome to the South Florida Regional Planning Council meeting on Wednesday, August the 27th. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll let Councilman Goldberg in attendance lead us off.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we please have a roll call?
Kaplan,
Here.
Garcia,
Present.
Geller,
Here.
Goldberg,
Here.
Borland,
Here.
Lincoln.
Here.
I'm gonna go with the rest of the committee, just in case, the council members, just in case someone's on. Cates. Corradino. Burr. Gilbert. Kaufman. McGee. Rodriguez. Udine. Davila.
Here.
Wynn. Villaboy.
Here.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, for the record, in accordance with section 120.525 subsection 4 of the Florida statutes, you have a legal quorum for the executive committee to meet in this session, and the participation of yourself as well as Senator Garcia will be legally permissive. To that extent, you may proceed.
Thank you for that. The next action item we have will be to approving our minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next agenda item is 3B. That is the financial report by Mr. Saldi. Leo, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair, for sending the floor for me. After the approval of the amended budget, I will present the new financials for the month of July 2025. If we look at page 1, we'll see that general fund decreased its assets in $54,528. Federal, state, and local funds increased their assets in $38,987. Revolving loan funds increased their assets in $231,018. And the Prosperity Institute increased its assets in $7,135. Page 2, income statement. We will see that we reached 101% of the budgeted revenues. And on the expense side, we're 80% of the expenses budgeted for the fiscal year at 83.33% of the fiscal year lapsed, which puts us in a great position.
Are there any questions for Mr. Soldi at this time? Any in Zoom?
Second.
We had a motion to approve.
Adoption, not
Adoption,
approval, sorry.
Thank you, Senator.
Second
More accurate legally.
the adoption.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any opposition? It's approved. Next item is the consent comprehensive plan amendment review.
Madam Chair, with your permission.
Mhm.
Item number 3C on the consent agenda relates to the comprehensive plan reviews for the following public entities. If they are here physically or otherwise, they may certainly be heard, and any member of the public who came out today to speak for or against any of these applications, any of these pending items has the right to be heard. Also, Madam Chair, for the record, item number 1 relates to Isla Mirada, the Village of Islands, references 25-03 ACSC. Second item is Isla Mirada, Village of Islands, number 25-04 ACSC. Next up is the City of Lauderhill, Florida, 25-01 ESR, and then the City of Miami Beach, 25-02 ESR. Next page of your agenda relates to the City of Miami Beach, another item, 25-03 ESR, and last but not least, for the consent items on this side of the equation is the City of South Miami, 25-01 ER. These are proposed. It is a public hearing, public record, and for the record, anyone from the public who came out to speak for or against today has a right to be heard, Madam Chair, as well as anyone who may have logged in the same vein. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So the public hearing is open and it is now open for comments. Are there any comments from the people in the audience live? Hearing none, we'll close that. Or is there anyone on Zoom? Hearing no comments, I'll close the public hearing and we'll open it up for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We
Third.
have we have a first, a second, and a third. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion is approved. We'll now move on to the adopted. Sam,
Thank
would
you,
you
Madam
like-
Chair.
Thank
With
you.
your permission, the adopted land use amendments are as follows. Again, public hearing on each one to the extent that any member of the public has come out today to be heard, for or against or anything in between, as well as any member of the public or members of the professional staff of either of the governmental agencies can be heard as well if they're online and logged in. The first item is Miami-Dade County 25-02 ESR. Next up is the Miami-Dade County 25-04 ESR. Monroe County 25-02 ACSC, the City of Miami 25-01 ESR, and last but not least, the City of Parkland 25-01 ESR, all under item number 3, adopted land use amendments, land use plan amendments, comprehensive plan amendments. Public has a right to be heard, Madam Chair. This is a public hearing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. We will now open up the public hearing for public comments. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to make a public comment on this agenda item?
I have a question.
Hearing, yes, sir.
Is the Miami-Dade one that we're hearing, has that come up? Is
That
that?
is separate. That's
Separate.
not
That
a
is
separate,
separate.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? Anyone in Zoom? Hearing no one in Zoom and no other comments or questions, I close the public hearing and will accept a motion.
Move approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second by Commissioner Garcia. Any opposition? Any further comments? Motion passes. Next, we'll move on to the regional issues, the comprehensive plan amendment review.
Thank you.
And I open the floor to Mrs. Cosio Carbella.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members. Today we're going to discuss a plan amendment that has been submitted on behalf of Kelly Tractors for a development project. We're lucky to have with us, we have members of Miami-Dade County planning staff, Alex Dombach, planning development manager. We also have Derek Rowe, of RER as well. Attending also, we have Mr. Joseph Goldstein, who's a partner with Holland and Knight, and Alessandria San Roman, an associate with Holland and Knight, that are here on behalf of the applicant. And we also have joining us online members of their team, additional members of their team, and also Ms. Laura Reynolds, who is with Hold the Line. And so with that, I'd like to invite Christina Miskis, Principal Mallory, to give a very quick overview of the amendment. And we are going to also ask Ms. Sandroman to give us a quick little overview of what is being planned by Kelly Practice. And then, of course, we'll invite comment from Miami-Dade County staff, unless Alex, maybe you'll have some comments that you might want to add anytime. Just raise your hand whenever you do.
Thank you. We'll take questions as they come along. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So Christina, please.
Thank you. Yes, this is a 246 acre site currently designated as open space. It lies mostly outside of the urban development boundary, with a couple acres inside the UDB. A portion of the parcel is within the urban expansion area, about 87 acres. The urban expansion area is a designation for areas that are suitable for Miami-Dade's 2040 long-term planning horizon. So this is a text amendment again. The request is to change the designation of this land from open land use category text to create this land use, the sub, excuse me, to create the MIA equipment and supportive services area description, which would allow this project to go forward. There's also a proper declaration of restrictions that the applicant can describe in more detail, and they have their environmental consultant to address the existing provenance on the property as well. And there's an amendment to the CDMP capital improvements element to for an improvement of a roadway that will connect to 137th Avenue, 6th Street. This was transmitted from Miami-Dade County Commission with a 10 yes vote, 2 no vote, 1 absent. And it was transmitted to the council as well as concurrently transmitted to the Agricultural and Consumer Services Division for Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, the Bureau of Historic Preservation, the Florida Department of State, the Florida Department of Education, and Homestead Air Reserve Base. We did receive comments from South Florida Water Management District that actually said that they have no comments pursuant to section 163. And the Florida Department of Transportation District 6 indicated that the proposed amendment would not adversely impact transportation resources and facilities of state employees. And those are the agencies we go to look for these regional issues of importance to the council, as we are invited to comment by statute on resources of regional significance, as well as introduce interjurisdictional issues. So there is a staff report attached. There is a considerable argument for economic development for this industry sector growth to continue. We understand and acknowledge the challenge of finding assembled land within the UDB for this at this scale. There are concerns about natural resources of regional significance, as they are identified as potential wetlands of regional significance, and we could invite the environmental consultant to talk about the restrictions in place currently. For regional transportation, even though there's not an impact on regional facilities, there will be impact on the transportation network as a whole, and it's unclear how impacts on a local road 137th Avenue are going to be addressed. Looking towards the future, we understand there'll be development pressure for outside the UDB moving forward, and we encourage private-public partnerships for land assembly and brownfield redevelopment to align with broader economic development strategies. And we have some specific recommendations addressing the issues I just mentioned.
Question.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First, it's a question to you. I have a series of questions, but do you want us to ask them now? Anyone with questions, or do you want us to take the public testimony first? If you want public testimony, I'll hold my questions off until after them, or I can ask my questions now, whichever you prefer, Madam Chair.
Well, what is the pleasure of the council that's there? If I would prefer you asking your question now so that you have a clearer understanding of, and then everyone in the audience would as well. So why don't you go ahead and ask away.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did note that, again, as was commented, that the subject site is within the wetlands of regional significance as described in the land use element. And I believe you said South Florida Water Management District did not raise any objections. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. And then my next question is to our attorney, Mr. Gorin.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gorin, on a purely philosophical nature, I tend to oppose expansion outside the UDB, but my understanding is our review is limited to certain areas. And I think we should all, as we hear the testimony, be paying attention to whatever our limited jurisdiction is. Can you tell me what our jurisdiction as the SFRPC is? Because Dade County Commission is the primary, we're just reviewing.
And may speak, Madam Chair. The answer is, if you will, found in chapter 163, a subject that you've looked at in the past and you're charged with understanding in the context of these kinds of reviews. It's actually contained in section 163.3184, and the subsection we're referring to is subsection 3 that says the following. Comments to the local government from a regional planning council, which would be us. County or municipality shall be limited as follows. This is directed from the statute, has not been changed since it was adopted. Says the following: the regional planning council review and comments shall be limited to adverse impacts on regional resources or facilities identified in the strategic regional policy plan and extra jurisdictional impacts that would be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan or any affected local government within the region. A regional planning council may not review and comment on a proposed comprehensive plan amendment prepared by such council unless the plan amendment has been changed by the local government subsequent to the preparation of the plan amendment by the regional planning council, which is not the case. So those are the componentry.
So just to break that down, you said regional impacts on, there were, I think you said 2.
Yes.
What were they briefly?
Essentially the regional adverse impacts on regional resources.
Okay.
And extra jurisdictional impacts that would be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan of any affected local government within that region, the region.
If I could,
So
I believe, Senator, it's regional resources and facilities, so that would be like a transportation facility.
okay, so I would ask the speakers pursuant to what Chair Lincoln said, as they are speaking, to understand that our review is limited to adverse impact on regional resources and extra jurisdictional impacts on other local governments. And then my final question at this point is, I have a great deal of respect for our Vice President, Senator Garcia. Is it permissible, Mr. Attorney and Madam Chair, to ask Senator Garcia if he had any comments and how he voted? Because, as I said, I have the greatest respect for his opinions.
May I respond, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir, you may.
This is a public forum. And as I've mentioned, I've used the phrase free dealer. You come here in your appointed capacity as individuals appointed by the board that you represent. You are not bound by the decisions made by the organization that appointed you. You have the independent right to make decisions here based upon the facts and circumstances and the statutes. However, because you can't discuss the issue with Senator Garcia outside the bounds of this public meeting, today is the legally proper forum to do so.
Okay. I've had no discussion on this matter or any other vote other than personal. Senator Garcia is an old friend of mine. Senator Garcia, do you have any input on this? Because as you know, I highly respect your opinions.
I would prefer a longtime friend instead of old friend, but okay, we'll just go with that. Listen, if I'm not mistaken, I think that this came before the CDMP already in the county commission. Can someone verify that for me? I just don't want to.
At the county commission level.
Correct, yes.
Yes, Senator, it came to a July meeting
Right.
and the vote
I just want to make sure, yeah, so it already came to one of the hearings, and I'll tell you this, I know how you feel about voting for things outside of the UDB, and so do I. But based on the area where it is, I felt comfortable with that vote that we took, because I did take it, and I want to say that it was approved. I think it may have been one or two no votes, but it was approved by the CDMP, our zoning arm of the county commission, if I'm not mistaken. So I too feel like you, and I get it. But this one was one that we felt comfortable to move forward with it.
Thank you, Senator, and Madam Chair, that concludes my questions, and we'll have commentary after the public comment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam
Are there
Chair,
any other questions that we have right now from the council members?
You
Hearing
mentioned-
none.
State Road 137, I think the speakers will presumably address that.
council members, Madam Chair, I'd like to invite Holland and Knight, please, to give us a very quick overview of the project, so to give the members a more complete view of what is being proposed, with your permission.
Permission granted.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. So with that, I'd like to invite Alessandria San Román, Holland and Knight, to please give us a quick overview of what is the proposed project. Thank you, Ms. San Román.
Thank you so much, Isabel, and thank you so much to the South Florida Regional Planning Council for having us here today. As Isabel mentioned, my name is Alessandra Centerman with Law Offices located at 701 Global Avenue. With me this morning is my colleague Joe Goldstein. On Zoom, we also have Mr. Edward Swaycon, our environmental consultant, and Mr. Jose Gonzalez. So I'm just going to give you a very, very quick overview. So there we go, next slide. So Kelly Tractor, just a high level, is a family-owned supplier of heavy machinery in Miami-Dade County. They have been in operation since 1933, serving the South Florida community and other parts of the state. Kelly Tractor provides rentals as well as leasing and sales and servicing of all types of construction and industrial equipment to all sorts of our markets, including our highway and bridge building, water and sewer, land development, housing, the quarries, agriculture, warehousing, and seaports and marinas. There we go. So this is the existing site that they have. I know we call it Doral, but it is unincorporated Miami-Dade in the Doral area. It is an existing 40-acre facility that's been around since 1972. There has been continued growth and demand on the business and on the land side of things that has made the existing facility inadequate to meet the customer needs. And as you can see here, the surrounding area is completely developed, leaving no land available on which to expand. Next slide, please. This is the application area. It's 246.07 acres located to the west of Northwest 137th Avenue and just west of State Road 836. You'll see it right to immediately on the east side of the site. The current land use designation is Open Land Sub-Area 3 and Industrial and Office. This little portion right here actually is within the UDB. This is the Industrial and Office portion. This is the UEA line. This is about 87 acres, and the remainder is outside of the. Next slide, please. This is the Open Land Sub-Area 3 designation. As you can see, I'll show you in the next few slides, this area is mostly developed actually and consists of a lot of our quarries to the north. We've got public facilities, utility and communication facilities, seasonal agriculture use, and recreational use. Slide. This is the proposed MI equipment and supportive services area in the open land use category. This is again very narrow tailored to this specific area and this application area. It does not open the door for other applicants to come into this area. Next slide. These are just a few of the proposed uses for the site. We've got from indoor storage and equipment to parts area, training facilities, which is particularly important for this site. We want to make sure that employees are properly trained and we can invest in our employees. Next slide, please. These are a few of the additional uses. I just want to highlight most of these exist today on the site, just on very limited, very limited uses. But we do want to expand some of those, particularly that training facility for our use of the training of the employees. Next slide, please. So this is a conceptual master site plan. We do have Mr. Edward Swaycon who will discuss a little bit more, but as you can see, on the west side and on the east side, we have a preserve area. Those are under an existing covenant. And some of those we'll discuss a little bit more. Here we've got lake and wetland mitigation that Ed will talk about. And over up in this area, we will have there's a tree island that we will be preserving. We have been working with the Miccosukee tribe to make sure that that area remains untouched. As you can see, we've got demolition and training on the site, equipment storage, indoor storage. As you know, this use is very land intensive, which requires the storage of materials, the use and making sure that they work appropriately, and the training of our methods. Next slide. And this is just a recap. The real need for this is really our current facility limitations, current demands in the market. This area is strategically located in the western half of the county's north central planning tier with excellent access to major transportation networks. As I mentioned, we've got State Road 836 right there on the side with direct access, so we can keep those trucks off of the main roads, use the site today for something more multifamily, commercial, industrial, what it may call for inside the UDB, and keep these more intense uses outside of it. Again, land availability, there's a lack of suitable land inside the urban development area. Next slide, please. Again, these are just a few of the highlights, and if anybody has any questions, I just want to quickly go through these. Next slide. Again, there are a bunch of South Florida environmental infrastructure projects that Kelly Tractor supports today. Next slide. Here is the current and proposed developments on the site, just to give you all a sense of what exists today. From the north, we've got the corrections inmate facility. We also have CEMEX. There's a Prologis development just to the north of the site that's currently under development for industrial warehouse. We've got an antenna field, bus depot, the MIA transport hub, a truck parking facility. Got a Target, a BJ's, a gas station, a Burlington coat factory going over to the east side. There's a pending truck parking application. And this area here was the previously proposed WASA reuse facility. Next slide, please. Next slide. And then if we can turn over very, very quickly to Mr. Swaycon to talk about the covenants.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Alexandra. The site has been subject to a lot of evaluation to make sure that it's the right site for this use. There was a site selection analysis and alternatives done. There was a detailed environmental assessment of the site done. There's a detailed document on the past permitting history of the site and an assessment of compliance with wetlands of regional significance and an evaluation of the available industrial land within the north central planning tier. I'm going to concentrate on the environmental aspects of the project. It's important to note that the site is outside of all of the wellfield protection zones and is not within the footprint of any SERP or BBCR component. BBCR has made significant progress over the last several months and now has a proposed tentatively selected plan, which is essentially the last step before going into further authorization at the federal level. None of the components proposed for BBCR impact this project site, and more importantly, this project site does not impact any of the BBCR components. The site has a long permit history going back to 1985 and in 2012, where previous permits from Miami-Dade County, Durham, were issued for ridge and furrow tree farming. As part of those permits, the environmental impacts associated with creating the tree farming activity, essentially the creation of the the rows in which the trees were planted, that wetland impact was offset by creating the depressions, the furrows. That was the mitigation. And as a result of that, there was a covenant that was executed to say the land's going to stay in agricultural use because the furrows provided the mitigation. But it went on to say that if in the future the land use changes, here's how you evaluate the wetland impacts. It's a very unique covenant in that it prescribes how you proceed to the next step. It actually anticipated a change in land use. The two, there was a second covenant that was executed at the time that was part of the mitigation. One was for a tree island on the east side of the property of approximately 10 acres, 10.8 acres. And there was a 12.3 acre on the western side of the property. Both of those existing covenants are being expanded rather significantly. The Bayhead, the tree island, is being expanded from 10.8 acres to 18.6 acres. And the western preserve area is being increased from 12.3 acres to 15.3 acres, 47% increase in on-site preservation. There are no existing violations on the site. We realize that we have a challenging wetland regulatory permit process ahead of us, but the site is unique in that it's been impacted and it has covenants that anticipate future development. And with that, I'm going to stop and answer any questions you guys might have.
Does anyone have any questions for the presenters?
Yes, Madam Chair.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Can I ask whoever from the presenters to remember we are not a de novo hearing. So our review is limited to adverse impact on regional resources and extra jurisdictional impacts. What is your position as to limited to those two items?
Do you want to take the first part? Hey, can you hear us?
Yeah, what, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What was that directed at me? This is not a de novo hearing. Our review is limited to the two items that our attorney addressed, which are adverse impact on regional resources and extra jurisdictional adverse impacts. What is your position on those two? That we comply with the provisions of the existing comp plan for impacts in this area. Okay, so your testimony is you do not have any adverse impact on regional resources nor adverse extra jurisdictional impacts. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay.
Any other questions?
There was a point of ambiguity, I thought, about the route, the highway.
137th Avenue, Councilmember.
Avenue.
Sure.
Can you speak to that?
Sure, absolutely. If we can actually pull up the presentation very quickly, all the way to the end, and I'll just generally speak to it. So 137 today fails with or without our project. We recognize that any impact, any development that comes to the site needs to address not just 137th, but there's also 139th that we've been having conversations with Miami-Dade County, the area in general, right? There's, as I mentioned, there was a target further south. There are conversations to open up 139. We would have to pay our proportionate share mitigation towards 137 to make sure not just 137th, but 139th and the whole area appropriately flows and addresses any deficiencies that may arise.
836 is not a piece of cake either.
It is not. We are very fortunate that we do have that connection, right? Which would serve as a very much appreciated amenity to keep people off of 137th and on and off on 836, which would help. But yes, absolutely. It will take significant planning, and this would not obviously be the very last step. We'd have to go get the site plan approved to go through proper permitting, and there's a long ways ahead.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I am wondering, I don't know if Mr. Sway can already address it, but could you just speak to, because we're at the back of our report, there's some little recommendations that we provided. And one of the things was about the endangered and threatened species. And I was wondering if, I don't know if I missed it, and I apologize if I did, but could Mr. Sway kind of speak to that for a minute?
Sure. We've initiated coordination for technical assistance with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And I don't know, Alexandra, if you have that slide in the slide deck, but we already have a response from them that says that because of the existing historic impacts on the site,
that it's unlikely that there will be any impacts to endangered species. Now, that's all set. As you go through the more detailed environmental permitting process, that will be reviewed again by the state and local agencies. But we're confident there's going to be no adverse impacts to endangered species.
That's perfect. A follow-up question, Madam Chair.
Yes,
So, if you're looking at our recommendations, one was to make sure that, you know, as everything is going in, to make sure they're coordinating with the county, the RER, Department of Transportation, Public Works, and you've already mentioned that you've alluded to it, but just make sure that the transit connectivity is a component of the project and improvements. And I was wondering if you might say anything about that, but that's again, one of the recommendations. In fact, I would welcome if you would look at the recommendations. I think you've covered a lot of this. I think for the additional buffering on the property along the canal, but I don't know if there's anything there that you're not in agreement with.
So we did read the recommendations and we're in agreement with, again, this is the very first stage of the planning process. We will work with Miami-Dade County to ensure that we do check off all the boxes, make sure there's adequate buffering and make sure that good transportation obviously goes appropriately.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Solomon. I'm sure that we will have public comment from Ms. Reynolds at the appropriate time.
Madam Chair, may I just add my comments?
Mhm.
for the record?
yes, please. The floor is yours.
Very much. And Isabel just hit upon what my main concern was. Like the senator said, philosophically, I'm opposed to the expansion outside the UDB, but I understand what our role is here today. I read I read this differently, you know, whereas FDOT came out, this is on page 2 of the staff report, that the proposed amendment would not adversely impact transportation. South Florida Water Management District did not say the same, just did not provide comments, which I thought was interesting that there were no comments. I am most concerned about what Durham indicating that it contains wetlands of regional significance. So I would just like to add my voice to what Isabel said on the council recommendations, to take a close look at those recommendations and do what you can to mitigate that potential runoff, especially that there's going to be fueling there and a landing pad and some other things that could endanger those wetlands. So thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
If
Did the applicant want to respond to that?
I might want to make just a quick comment with respect to stormwater management. The site's has already submitted a conceptual stormwater management plan, and all stormwater from the 25-year 3-day storm event is going to be retained on site. Because we're in the North Trail Basin, there's going to be additional property utilized offsite to comply with local cut and fill criteria to ensure that there's no adverse impacts to flooding in the region. And the facility is going to have state-of-the-art techniques to prevent groundwater contamination from uses on the site.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other council person wanting to weigh in, ask questions, or comment?
I may have more after the public testimony.
Okay, well, hearing them right now, Sam, did you read this amendment yet? Is that where we are next?
The answer is that it would be helpful just to make sure the record reflects it, if with your permission. And this is on the agenda, appropriately published, with regard to the Miami-Dade County 25-03 ESR. It's CDMP number 202-30013. That is the item on which the comments have now been made, have been booked into the record, and are available for public comment during the public hearing process, as the chair would permit.
Thank you. And this is now open for a public hearing, at which time I am now opening it up for any public comment. If there is anyone in Zoom that wishes to make a public comment, Please raise your virtual hand. I do see Laura Reynolds has joined the Zoom and has unmuted herself. If that is true, there's your virtual hand. Good morning, and Ms. Reynolds, you are recognized. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the time to address you. It's hard to do that in just a few minutes. We do have prepared a letter that we provided to the county commission, as well as additional information that we collected from the county, including other sites in the location in the area that are appropriate for this type of facility. So first rule of planning is try to avoid wetlands. In my opinion, they are providing us with not only flood attenuation, but our regional water supply. They are critical, even if they are not part of BBC or any Everglades restoration activity. And that is true. At this moment, they are not identified as needed for restoration. However, we are in a water quality crisis in Dade County. Biscayne Bay is suffering from critical issues with seagrass die-offs, as well as fish kills. So the regional significance here is that wetlands are our natural filter. So if you can avoid wetlands at any cost, that should be number one. And this has come to us in an interesting way. It is a text amendment. And typically text amendments are reserved for something that benefits the public outside the UDB. And typically that's a government entity that would pursue that, not moving the UDB. But if you provide a text amendment, you don't get the same kind of review as you would if it was a map amendment. So, you know, if you don't mind sharing the map again of the proposed site, I can do it if you allow me to share my screen, but you'll see that it's mostly concrete. So the row and furrow that Ed Swaycon mentioned as mitigation for previous wetland violations is now covered with concrete. And so our concern is that not only are these wetlands of regional significance and under your purview, but there is no place for the 62 acres that are required to carry on with this property in terms of what's protected. You know, there are locations that are protected, but currently they're getting credit for that row and furrow. But without a map amendment, we cannot have concurrent zoning. So we cannot hold them to an actual site plan. So what I want to bring to all of you is that this should really be a map amendment, and it should be reviewed as such. And because it's a text amendment, it's being reviewed differently, and I think that's problematic. So again, there are other locations available to pursue this type of development. The review that Ed Swaycon conducted was just centered around the 836. But we received other locations that the county provided because we asked. I can send you that map. You know, again, there is necessarily no need that has been put forward for 246 acres. I think their current property site is much, much smaller. Again, we would ask that we elevate the protection of regional wetlands for so many reasons. Again, we ask that you make sure those issues are in your comments as you rule on this issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. And for the record, I forgot to ask you to introduce yourself and your title.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Laura Reynolds, and I'm the science director of the Hold the Line Coalition, and we are a group of affiliated entities, mostly community groups, but we also have municipal members and business members, and we are on our 21st year, you know, reviewing these applications. If you could provide in the chat just an email where I can send you that letter for the record, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, could you all please put that in the chat so that Ms. Reynolds can provide us with the email. Thank you. I'm open again if there's anyone else in the Zoom world that wishes to make a public comment. The time to do so would be now.
Madam Chair, may I ask the prior
And
speaker?
if not, I'm gonna ask if there is anybody in the audience live that wishes to make a public comment before we bring it back to the council.
Madam Chair? can you
Yes,
hear me?
sir. Yes,
The prior speaker, a question or two?
the prior speaker, what did what?
I'd like to ask her a question.
Normally, do we do that during public comment? I thought we normally just listen to public comment and then council weighs in afterwards. But if,
Madam Chair, if
Yes.
you will, there's precedent for having open dialogue to the extent that it is a public hearing. That's the place to
Okay.
have that conversation. And you have the gavel. If you permit it to occur, it can certainly occur legally.
Well, actually, I have-
thank
do.
you. Yes, Chair, or past Chair Geller, you may ask Ms. Reynolds a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Reynolds, I had asked while you were talking, if we had a copy of that letter, and we do, and I just reviewed it, and you may be correct on your issues that it should not be a text amendment, it should be a expansion to UDB, a map amendment, but that's outside of our jurisdiction. And I'll ask you the same question that I asked the applicant, because our decision needs to be based on competent, substantial evidence in the record, and it's limited to 2 areas. So I'll ask you if you have any comment just on those 2 areas, which were adverse impact on regional resources and adverse extra jurisdictional impacts. Those are the only 2 items that this board or this or regional planning council that this council can review. So do you have any comment on those 2 specifics?
Yes, thank you. So I was trying to limit my comments to chapter 163.3184, which I believe that these are designated regionally significant wetlands and therefore are under your purview. I think the reason I explained why this moved forward the way it did is because I think it didn't receive the proper review and scrutiny that you would normally have for moving the urban development boundary. And so therefore you're receiving no comments and no information that you might have received if this was under the same scrutiny with a concurrent zoning application. So that's the reason I brought that up. I understand that that's not your purview. However, these are wetlands of regional significance. And for that, it's our drinking water. It is our natural filters for Biscayne Bay and the Everglades, and of course, flood attenuation for the region, all of which are under your purview. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Council Commissioner Geller, all these different titles. Are there any other questions or comments for anyone in the public hearing? Anyone else signed up to speak?
May I just raise one point with staff, if I might? The second bullet point in the recommendations touches on wetlands.
Yes.
Could you, the last clause, could you translate what that is intended to communicate by way of a recommendation?
The staff recommends the applicant consider sufficiently buffering. Is that the one you're
Yeah,
referring to?
and it's really the last part, after the canal.
Well,
Preserve existing intact wetlands necessary. It's an incomplete sentence.
oh, I'm sorry, that was a typo. I don't know, council staff, Christina, preserve existing intact wetlands as necessary, I guess would be the missing word there.
Yeah.
If I may, we sent, agencies receive requests from the transmitting local government, in this case, Miami-Dade County, to provide their input. We rely on agencies to provide their input. Because we're very smart, but we're not subject matter experts on everything. So we rely very heavily on the input from the Department of Transportation, the Water Management District, we saw the letter from US Fish and Wildlife. So if a commenting agency says, we have no comment, and it went to the highest levels of the Water Management District, I would think that if there had been a concern, it would have been raised. So I don't know. I would like to invite maybe if just a minute. I know everybody has to leave.
Can I,
I think Commissioner Garcia would like the floor.
if I may for a minute, and
Yeah.
if the representatives, thank you, Madam Chair, and if the representatives can speak to this, because listen, I have a great deal of respect for Laura Reynolds, and we've been on the same side. Sometimes we're not always on the same side, but I respect the work that they do in holding the line. But I just have to, they made a comment about wetlands. And if I'm not mistaken, and again, this was sometime maybe 2 months ago that this was brought to us. Is there going to be any preservation of wetlands on the actual properties? I think that's what helped me make, gave me a little bit more comfort. And also, if we can talk a little bit of what's to the south and to the north and to the other areas around there, because I think there is some, even though that it goes, part of it is inside and part of it is outside. This is what happens when you have properties that are bifurcated by the line. And then when you see to the west of it, folks, if you see to the west, I think the map was there. I can't believe I'm fighting and defending this, but how the line itself, even to the south of it, there's more to the west that has already been developed. But I think the most important thing for some of the folks on here is the preservation of the wetlands. Can you talk a little bit about what's happening? I think the Miccosukis were involved with that as well.
I can address that, Commissioner Ed Swaycon. There's an existing covenant that identified 2 preserve areas, a bayhead, which was of interest to the Miccosukee Indians, and a wetland preserve area on the western side. Both of those existing covenant areas are being maintained and in fact are being expanded. The bayhead is being expanded from 10.8 acres to 18.6. And the wetlands on the west, the existing covenant calls for 12.3 acres to be preserved. The site plan now is proposing 12 or 15.3. That's the minimum. That's sort of what we're recognizing exists and how we're proposing to expand it. There still is a wetland regulatory function that will have to be gone through, and there will be additional mitigation for any additional wetland impacts into the future. The covenant that's there now for the farming, where Ms. Reynolds talked about how the mitigation for the existing row and furrow farming were the depressions between the trees. That covenant anticipates a change in land use and prescribes a methodology for how you proceed through the regulatory process. So it's not an absolute covenant saying thou shalt not ever change this in the future.
Thank you for that clarification.
And just one more thing on the wetlands of regional significance in the comp plan, it sets out criteria for when it's appropriate to work in these areas. And there's 5 criteria. Number 4 says carried out in accordance with an approved basin management plan. There is a North Trail cut and fill criteria, a basin management plan that we are complying with. And the number 5 says areas have been highly disturbed or degraded, and where restoration of a wetland with equal or greater value in accordance with federal, state, and local regulations is feasible. So we comply with that because it is feasible. It's acknowledged in the covenant.
Thank you. Are there any more comments from council and or people in the audience? Hearing none, I'll close to comments and open it up for board discussion and motions.
Madam Chair.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. First, I have a question of council. I believe I've heard the attorney for the applicant say that they agree with our council recommendations, and for the record, she's nodding in agreement. Is it, and if so, I'm going to move so momentarily to recommend approval with a caveat that they agree with our council recommendations. If so, again, I see council nodding and yes. So based on the fact that the balance of the competent substantial evidence seems to be that there is not any violation of the very limited jurisdiction that we have, despite my philosophical opposition, I would move approval of the transmittal with the condition that the council recommendations, which council has already agreed to, be added as a condition of approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Geller. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? It is second by Commissioner Garcia. So we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any comments?
Is it appropriate in the second bullet dealing with wetlands and the recommendations?
We can-
We talk about preserving existing
Yeah.
wetlands. Appropriate to also add restoring wetlands as feasible.
I would,
Ask the attorney if they're
Yeah.
amenable to that.
Sure, yes, you said to change the language to say existing intact wetlands as necessary and as feasible?
And restore wetlands as feasible.
Yes.
okay,
That is in fact the intent on those western areas, that they'll be enhanced, any exotic vegetation will be removed and they'll be enhanced and used as part of the on-site mitigation, so that's certainly appropriate.
Commissioner Geller, will you amend your motion?
Yes, ma'am, I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Commissioner Garcia, will you second the amended motion? Yes. Any other comments? Hearing none, let's take roll. Do you want roll or just, Sam, do we need a roll call for this or a simple, any opposition?
Sure, call Madam Chair. At this point, you have a limited number of folks that are important folks, but a limited number of them here today to vote. So, thank you,
Let's go ahead and take a roll call.
Madam Chair.
Kaplan,
Yes.
Garcia. You said yes.
We read your
Yes,
lips.
yes.
Geller,
Yes.
Goldberg,
Yes.
Borland,
Yes.
Lincoln.
Yes. The motion carries. Thank you all. And with that, I'm closing the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I believe next on our agenda, we have public comment, and then after that, we have agenda numbers or items E and F, which would be the annual review of general counsel and the annual review of our executive director. So if you all have received your paperwork to fill out for the evaluations and could please send that in. If you have not done so, please get that sent in so that we can keep this meeting moving forward. Greatly would appreciate that. So with that, we are at the point in our agenda for public comment. So is there any public comment from anyone in the audience? Hearing none. Is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to make a public comment at this time? Hearing none, we will close to public comment and we will move on to agenda item E, which is general counsel annual review. This is a little difficult doing from Zoom world, but I am guessing everyone there in the room have the paperwork and have filled out the the annual review for our general counsel. And
I have everybody's review forms except for Senator Garcia's. I'm just waiting for his email.
I am sure he will be sending that. Do you need that now, or can we move on with this without his, and his can come later?
Or it'll be fine.
Madam Chair, if I could,
Yeah.
so, thank you, Madam Chair. So normally, council members, we do this in September. We're gonna have a special guest, Secretary Iglesias, at our meeting in September, and I was sort of hoping to free up some time and that sort of thing. But I understand that you have time constraints, Commissioner Horland. I know that Chair Lincoln also has an obligation that's time sensitive, and I imagine all of you do. So after conferring with council, I mean, we're fine to let this go to September if that's more convenient for you, because I know this does actually take a little bit of time.
Right.
So, you, Chair
If-
Lincoln,
If this isn't a time emergency right now, I would prefer then that we table this and bring it back at the September meeting when we normally have it.
So yes, Madam Chair, we can do that. Also, perhaps we can have a meeting before, let's see how everything goes. I would like to just ask them for just 1 second. I would like Deputy Director DeShazo just to quickly respond to the council meeting request you had, Senator, about ad valorem.
Yeah, I'm gonna have some serious questions on the report, which I'll.
Oh, well, maybe you want to have an offline conversation with Director DeShazo, Deputy Director, and then we'll bring it back.
Okay, just, Madam Chair, can I have 30 seconds or less?
Yes.
The problem, Randy, and I'll go over this with you, is this is based on, I just noticed the Broward, you did the same thing that the Tallahassee Democrat did. When they say that property tax is 32% of all county revenues, that includes things like our enterprise
Yes.
zones
Yes.
and things, trust funds, surtax, things of that nature. It should be based on our general revenue number. And I happen to know that it's 85, property tax is 85% of our general revenue. So the 32% is completely misleading because that includes, and our public safety, this has the sheriff is at 33%. He's actually 55.7 of our GR. So I will go over that with you to try and review this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, and we will keep working on it. We just want you to know that we do pay attention to your requests. We have a list of them, and we're gonna try to address them one by one as best we can. Okay.
Thank you. Do you want to give a very quick, brief update on where we are with the regional conference?
Yes, Madam Chair, I don't see Ms. Agoli here today. Would have expected her to be in attendance since she's the lead person. Is she there? She's on. Oh, good. So I see that. Guys,
I'm sick, so I didn't want to come in with my sniffles and coughing in the room.
I didn't know that. Or do you want to give a quick update, please?
Sure. So the conference is fully confirmed. All the speakers are confirmed, and we have 172 people registered so far. We're hoping to get some more. We're in the process of sending more marketing emails, and would greatly appreciate it if you could, excuse me, if you could share the marketing e-blast that we're sending out today with your contacts, or post on your social media channels and whatnot. Everything is going well, and we hope that most of you will be able to attend and join us on September 11th.
Thank you for that update, and I certainly hope you start to feel better soon.
Thank you.
Yes.
Because we are time sensitive here, Isabel, did you say you all were good with us skipping over
Yes, ma'am.
discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just out of respect for our ex officios in the on Zoom world, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to make any comments from FDOT or FDEP or from South Florida Water Management District?
No updates, no comments. Thank you.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, then with that, hope to see everybody at our regional conference coming up on September the 11th. Everyone, please take care, be safe, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Enjoy the long
Thank
weekend.
you. Bye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Feel like I shouldn't do the sign.
Let's do.
Not part of the official record, but Commissioner Gold